Hello everyone. Today we'll be discussing false memories. Just as a quick little disclaimer here, this presentation was created by me, Molly Kruger, for the University of Illinois Springfield for the Psychology class 413, Learning and Memory. A good amount of the information I used for this presentation is from various sources, which are cited at the end of the video. Alright, let's begin. So I'd like to begin by defining what false memory is. So false memories are memories that are generated by an individual that are inaccurate or that never occurred. Now, most people would associate this definition with someone who has suffered amnesia or perhaps a brain disorder, injury, or illness, while the fact of the matter is we all produce false memories. Some cognitive neuroscientists, such as Julia Shaw, are bold enough to say that 100% of our memories are fiction in some sense. So to give you an idea of a false memory, I thought I'd use a personal example. This is really my friend's false memory, not mine, but I thought it would be a good illustration. So I met my friend through a Starbucks window, actually. I was just on my way to work and stopped for a coffee. We got to talking, we exchanged numbers. I got my coffee and I drove off. That's it. However, he remembers it different. He thinks that he saw a ukulele in my back seat, and that's how we got to talking, whereas that actually never happened. And I know this because we actually became friends on Facebook before I posted a picture of me receiving my ukulele. So I received my ukulele in August for my birthday, and we actually met the December before that. So just to kind of drive that definition home, false memories are memories that are generated by an individual that are inaccurate or that never occurred, just like the ukulele story. So why do we create false memories? According to our text, scientists are still a long way from fully understanding them, which is still true, but here's what we do know. The question is no longer do we have false memories, it's how false are our memories. We also know that our brains and minds like to know what's going on. They want to have all the answers, so that's definitely a factor when it comes to creating false memories or confabulating, which we'll get to in a later slide. Our memories are also extremely malleable, since they're essentially constructed from our own imaginations. There's social pressure to remember things correctly, perhaps encouraging the creation of false memories. And lastly, individuals usually do not involve themselves in the process of meta-memory or metacognition, meaning to examine one's own memories. So my friend who I had mentioned about the ukulele, he probably doesn't sit down all that often, if at all, to think about that memory, to basically try and figure out if it was correct or not. Now that we have a basic understanding of false memory, I would like to present the question, how extreme can they become? And the answer to that is very. And to give you an example of how extreme they can become, I would like to highlight Julia Shaw's experiment. Now, Dr. Julia Shaw is a psychological scientist at University College London, and she's best known for her work in the areas of memory and criminal psychology. The goal of Dr. Shaw's experiment was to see if she could plant false memories in various psychology students. Over 3 conversations, she would basically take steps by using advanced cognitive methods to convince students they had committed a felony crime. Now, Dr. Shaw wanted these memories to meet certain standards. She wanted to make sure that they produced a memory that had various details, such as they remembered the color of a shirt or a piece of clothing or the color of something in their memory, taste, a smell, a detail that was more specific than what she was basically trying to plant in their mind. By the end of the study, more than 70% of participants believed they committed a crime, which resulted in police involvement, meaning Dr. Shaw was successful in planting false memories having to do with felony crimes in her participant's mind. Dr. Shaw ended the study early due to the overwhelming percentage rate of students who actually believed that they had committed felony crimes. I'm thinking that she probably thought it was a little unethical to keep up the study and let students think that they had committed these horrible crimes like assault or assault with a weapon. This has been one of my favorite studies to read, probably just because of the sheer outrageousness of it. You have one scientist who is conducting this experiment and convincing 70% of her participants that they have committed crimes, not just misdemeanor crimes, felony crimes that involve the police. I think that Dr. Shaw's study is a great example of how our memories can be misled. Our society has arrived at the general understanding that memories are akin to a seal on hot wax. Once pressed, the wax retains its shape and its integrity forever, when in reality our memories are much more malleable and subject to change. Perception and how we perceive the world varies from person to person. So does our memory. So knowing all of this, how do we know what's real from what's not? Meaning what's false from what's true? Our brains attempt to make sense of our shortcomings with the help of confabulation at times. So that brings us to confabulation. And what is confabulation? Confabulation is an individual who provides information or acts based on information that is obviously false or that is clearly inappropriate for the context of retrieval. In short, confabulation means to provide detailed false memories as a way of making sense of gaps in one's memory. Now, many people get this term confused with lying. Now, confabulation is not lying. Lying means that there's a sense of deception. Confabulators honestly don't know that what they are saying is completely false. They're usually just trying to fill the gaps in their own memories, since that's what the brain is used to doing, adapting and being in control. Now, confabulation is most likely to occur after a traumatic brain injury, or a side effect of undergoing a split brain procedure. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on confabulation, but I thought it's definitely worth mentioning, since false memories are a huge part of confabulation. So finally, I'd like to discuss brain structure and the latest research. So I wish I could just whip out the information and tell you exactly how the brain processes false memories, but unfortunately, there just isn't enough research to put it simply. However, there are a series of leading research theories that I'd still like to share with you because I find them interesting, and I think they all carry a lot of weight regarding this subject. The first would be the hippocampus. The hippocampus is known for controlling our memory, emotion, motivation, things of that nature, and a fairly recent study from 2016 has suggested hippocampal size is related to short-term true and false memory. Northwestern University has also done research suggesting that the parts of the brain that actually perceive an object and the parts of the brain that imagine an object overlap, meaning that we're using the same parts of our brain to perceive an object than we are to create a memory. So perhaps there's a crossing of wires there that may trigger a false memory. There are also other studies from 2018 that suggest emotion distorts episodic memory and therefore false memory. There's also the issue of different labs testing different aspects of false memories. I noticed a lot of studies referring to false memories as false beliefs, whereas people with false beliefs appear to accept that the false event occurred or they imagined or speculate about it, whereas people with false memories provide further evidence that they genuinely remember the event. So the outcomes on those studies are going to be vastly different, especially if they are categorizing false memories and false beliefs as the same thing. False memory and memory in general are subjects with a seemingly endless pool of questions. I personally believe that in order to discover more about something as mysterious as our memory, we have to ask ourselves many questions and create testing parameters that will function fluidly with something as moldable as memory. I feel as though we try to take an objective approach to testing, which is difficult considering how subjective memory actually is. Maybe we'll create a technology that will be able to test a cognitive mind instead of various outputs of the brain, such as EEG or fMRI, or how we've been testing up until this point. So in conclusion, everybody has false memories. There is research out there about it, but it's still in its infancy, and while we know bits and pieces about the brain substrates and the behavioral aspect of it, there's still a lot to learn. Well, that just about wraps up my video. Thank you so much for watching.